Right now, as I speak, millions and millions of drivers are saving money on their car insurance with GEICO. If you're one of those drivers, well done. If you're not, it's easy to join them. Visit geico.com today.
On the line now with us, a 21-year executive director, 21 years heading up the Holiday Bowl, John Reid. John, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
We're doing well, John, and we've talked about this before, but we thought we'd jump right into it about one of your most exciting moments as executive director, and I would have to think it was 1984 when BYU played Michigan for the national championship. But if memory serves me, it wasn't that easy to get an opponent for BYU back in '84. Can you kind of tell us the story of what happened?
Well, in those days, we were open on one side. We had the WAC champion as an automatic entry, and that, of course, was BYU. And they came in ranked number one in the nation. And we didn't pay a lot back in the early 80s. Our payoff was rather modest, but we thought the opportunity to play a number one team would be something that just about anybody would not want to pass up. So we went out on the recruiting trail looking for an opponent for BYU, and as things got down to cases on Selection Sunday, we were still without a team because one school after another was turning us down primarily for financial reasons. There was some suspicion maybe they just didn't want to tackle BYU, but the reality is that the top-ranked teams could go to bowl games on New Year's Day, for example, that paid probably 3 or 4 times what we were able to pay in those days. But we kept looking, and we were working the phones all day that Sunday. As I recall, we were in our little office at Qualcomm Stadium, really getting more and more nervous as the day wore on, as teams kept dropping by the wayside. We had one team that we called on the telephone, got the head coach on the telephone. They were coming in with a 7-3 record. We're very well respected. We're ranked in the top 25. And he put us on hold. He said, well, if you could make a decision right now, we would be willing to probably accept it. A little nonchalant about it, but he says, you could probably have us if you extended the bid right now. And we, still in our delusions of grandeur, I guess, held this particular coach off. And we thought, we can do better than a 7-3 to play the number one team in the nation. So we kept telephoning, and as the day wore on, as I said, we kept losing more and more teams. We went back to that university, and I can say now, at the time, we were not at liberty to say, but it was the University of Tennessee, coached by Johnny Majors, and a very high-profile SEC team that could come in and play. But by the time we got back to him, he got nervous about being shut out of a bowl altogether and accepted a different bid. So we were back to the drawing board. And by that time, about the only team that was left was Michigan. And Michigan had a rather lackluster record of 6-5, but it was a Big Ten team, and it was Michigan. It was a great, wonderful tradition of Go Blue, and all that entails one of the largest stadiums, jam-packed every Saturday back in Ann Arbor. And we finally called Don Canham, the athletic director, and said, we think we've got a spot for you. And he immediately accepted, because at 6'5", back in those days, and there were only about 14 or 15 bowl games at that time, he had run out of options and had no other place to go. So we said yes, he said yes, and we had our team. And we were ripped a little bit, quite honestly, because it was not a ranked team. It did not have a great one-loss record, and they were going to go up against the number one team in the nation. But the thing that really kind of turned it around for us is we went back to do our business with Don Canham and the university back in Ann Arbor. And in my early conversation with him when we first arrived on the scene, was to ask Mr. Canham how many tickets he thought Michigan could sell to our game. And he said, how many are we allotted? And as I recall, the number in those days was about 10,500 that would be allotted to the Wolverines, and Canham's immediate answer was sold. They used their entire allotment and were looking for more, and we had a jam-packed stadium, and it turned out to be such a great, great game, because by game time, by kickoff, most people had forgotten that 6-5 record and realized that it was the University of Michigan, and it was number 1 ranked BYU, and the game absolutely did not disappoint.
We're talking with John Reid, the longtime executive director of the Bridgepoint Education Holiday Bowl. John, during your tenure as executive director, the college football landscape has changed tremendously. Obviously, in 1998, when the BCS came about, that really changed things dramatically. How are you able to adapt the bowl game to fit in that structure?
Well, I'll be honest, it was rather difficult because we had a lot of success based on our ability to recruit good teams to oppose the WAC champion back at that time. Because of San Diego and its hospitality and the reputation we had built for making a great bowl experience for whatever team came to play the WAC champion. But we realized times were changing, and we did have to adapt. And the great coup that occurred along about then is we were able to entice the Pac-10 to come on board. And not only come on board, but come on board in a very good position where we were picking the runner-up team out of that conference, the team right behind whatever team was going to the Rose Bowl. So that, as much as anything, really put us on the map as far as moving forward and being the best we could be. Our motto was to be the best game that we could be below the BCS. And we think we accomplished that, and the bowl continues to accomplish that even today.
John, one last question before we wrap things up. When you were at the Fiesta Bowl, and we had, I think at the time, 12 or 13 bowl games. Now we have 35. The thought process back in the late 70s was there's too many bowl games. So it's amazing how times have changed or not changed. We still have too many bowl games, not for San Diego, but it's been quite a road for the history of bowl games in the country.
It really has. And actually, at that time, there were 11 bowl games when I moved from the Fiesta Bowl to the Holiday Bowl. And I'll always remember the late, great Wayne Lockwood, the columnist for the San Diego Union at that time, had ripped me because I had said before coming to the Holiday Bowl that I thought there were plenty enough bowl games and we didn't need any more, but the Holiday Bowl did get certified, and I came to work for it, and the rest is history. And it's been a great run.
John Reid, longtime executive director of the Holiday Bowl, my predecessor, thanks for joining us on the Bowl Game Radio, and we appreciate everything you've done for the game and continue to do for both the Holiday and the Poinsettia Bowl games.
Thank you, Bruce.